Before I start this show, I want to ask, what do you think are the key items or key features that led the PlayStation to the success that they are today? Let's start the show. And welcome to another exciting episode of the In-Game Boss Podcast. I am your host, Jeremy Evans, a.k.a. your In-Game Boss, a.k.a. your Retro Activist. And once again, joining me in this as a mini boss, he's basically, I would say you're probably in level 2 now.
Almost a resident.
Yeah, I think you're level 2 now. I think that you get a castle. I'll give you a little castle, one of those little castles. We'll build you up. Where the goal is to get you like those big ones like in like Super Mario World, and then bring it up from there. But Curtis Scism, welcome back, buddy.
Glad to be back.
And if you know Curtis not only does this, but he also does a podcast show that we do together that ended last month called the Gaming Halls of Rivalries. So definitely check it out, where we pin two characters together and talk about what they've done for the history of our industry of the gaming. So it's really fun. So the last episode, just for people that didn't know, we did a fantastic talk between Sephiroth and Kifka from Final Fantasy VI, and then of course Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII, and that was probably our longest episode and probably one of our favorite episodes to discuss. Yes. I've been throwing that out to everybody through my retro communities and all that kind of stuff because I just want to get spin on. When I had my last guest on here, Stephen Hockey, he said he's a big Final Fantasy VI person. So he was like, I might have to come over there and listen to that. I was like, yeah, let me know what you think. Yeah. He was actually a game collector. He was a huge collector of like a bunch of retro games and stuff. I asked him if you can give me an estimate how much you probably spend on collecting and all this stuff. He said he's probably spend more than $1,500. So that's a lot. Are you becoming a game collector at all, Curtis, or here and there? Or are you kind of just taking it as it goes?
Taking it as I go.
Okay. Do you have?
I don't sell back games though. I do just kind of buy them and keep them in my library.
Even if they're not good, you just keep them.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any consoles that are in your archives or anything like that? You got like a classic Nintendo, Super Nintendo?
No.
No. Okay. For the listeners, what consoles do you own right now, or what do you have?
Oh, PS3, PSP, PS4. A Vita and a 3DS.
Okay. Have you ever owned like the 64 and the GameCube?
No.
Oh,
I also own a Wii, so I'm able to play some 64 games. Okay.
Are you curious about getting the Switch in the future or Xbox
Absolutely
One?
Getting a Switch.
Okay. So Curtis, what games have you been playing? Like this out of curiosity. I haven't done a session like this in a while. So what games have you been playing lately?
Playing Dragon Quest Heroes 2 right now. Started Kingdom Hearts 3 last week.
Are you liking Kingdom Hearts 3?
Loving it.
Okay. Yep. Is there anything so far about that game that you don't like so far? Or is there anything like...
The maps are huge. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad... For me, it was kind of frustrating, kind of really getting lost on Mount Olympus for a while.
Okay, so like... What, now you can explore more instead of just going from like, the battles, dungeons, room to room?
Right. There's not rooms anymore like in Kingdom Hearts 2. You'd have an overhead map. You'd go to this red area and it would have to load. The map loads once.
Okay, so it's just everything loads in one time?
Everything loads in one time.
Okay. I heard that like there's a couple of things I heard. I heard one, the game is a little bit short. So I don't know, like, are you going through these worlds quicker than you thought you were? And then people are saying that the game felt a little bit too easy. That's what my next question for that is the game feeling too easy to you? Or
I can agree with that sentiment. You're taking a lot of combat systems from Birth by Sleep, Dream Drop Distance, and throwing them in 3.
Okay.
And 2 already kind of felt a little overpowered, but 3, you definitely feel overpowered because they added in the finishers from Birth by Sleep, the transformations from Birth by Sleep as well.
Okay.
And the magic system is really overpowered.
Really? Okay. I also heard that it felt too Kingdom Hearts because like Final Fantasy characters are like nowhere to be.
None to little existent.
Yeah. Does that upset you at all?
A little bit. Because they were very hand in hand with the first 2 games.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I always felt like they had their own journey too in this whole battle war and everything like that, and they kind of just slowly
phased them out.
Yeah, I guess like two was trying to wrap it all up because you had Cloud and Sephiroth kind of
I am really amazed that Square did not throw in a lightning appearance or definitely a Noctis.
Right. Maybe Noctis was a little bit too late, but lightning, that would have been on there. I mean, hell, I don't even think there was any 12s, Final Fantasy 12s in any of them. Not in 2, I don't think. Mm-hmm. And so,
now I do want to say, but while we're on that note, I'm going to give you to the count of 5. Plug your ears. Okay, 1, 2, 3. So okay, major spoiler. There is a secret ending scene, where Riku, I can't remember if it's Riku or Sora. They are in Insomnia.
Okay.
And Noctis is seen at the top of the Capitol building where the castle is.
Okay.
But that's all the Final Fantasy.
So there's going to be more, I'm guessing, huh?
I'm assuming so.
Okay. Yep. Let me ask this, do you want more Kingdom Hearts, or were you kind of like, I think this where they could have stopped and we could have moved on to something else?
I feel they should have stopped here, but I am if they're going to do more of a Square-centric Kingdom Hearts, because this was all Disney. This was all Pixar. Mm-hmm. And if they want to take a page and just do a full Square in a Final Fantasy based, or even though the World Ends With You kind of take on it, then I would be up for that.
Okay.
Because it was Disney overload.
Okay. I've been playing a puzzle game called The Witness. I don't know if you heard about the game. You're basically put on this island and you're trying to solve these little puzzles that all connect to each other. So like to get to one area, you have to connect all this stuff, but it's open. It's an open world kind of map, so you can just go anywhere you want. It's like kind of a walking simulator, but you just would do whatever you want. But the goal is you get a board, and each board you have a beginning and an end, and your goal is to get to the end by drawing a line. And it's one of those lines where like the lines can't cross each other. It's just one giant line. And sometimes they'll have puzzles where you have to collect all these spots on the graph. There's some you have to shape up with the graphics, but the goal is to light up all these fixtures to light up this island. This puzzle game was a little bit too smart for me. There were some puzzles like I nailed, and then some puzzles they really want you to think outside the box, and it really hits you hard to think outside the box. Some of it I actually had to look up. Yeah. And I hate looking up answers because then I feel dumb, like I should have known better.
It does not feel rewarding. Yeah.
Yeah, and some of them I do, and someone was like, "Oh, I had to look this up," because this is a game where the goal of this game is for you to play it, and if you can't figure it out, you go do something else, and maybe that will trigger something to go back to that point, or you walk away from it, and then you come back and you're like, I get it. Those kind of puzzles like that. Sometimes that worked for me. Some of them did not, because not only that you can solve puzzles what they have there, but you can use different structures in the land as drawing something too. So it's a lot of stuff in there. So, and I knew I didn't have that much time. So what I do now is I'll look at a puzzle. If it takes me about an hour not to figure it out, then I'll look it up and then just kind of moved on. But it is a unique game. I recommend everybody playing it because you kind of give the person credit for how he does it, because it's the same developers that did the indie game Braid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I recommend checking it out. I've been playing a battle royale game with John called Apex Legends. That's been a popular thing right now from the people that did Titanfall, Respawn. And that game is pretty fun. It's a battle royale game. Battle royale games are fun to me in groups, so I don't really play it by myself that much. Just if my friends want to play it, I'll jump in and play. But John Robles is like really obsessed with it. Not obsessed, I'm making it bigger than it is. He just really, really enjoys it. But John, I also play in the mornings while he's twitching Ghost Recon Wildlands. So like we get together and play that because that's a co-op game we can play and have fun. And it's kind of different for us because like we've been playing too many different games. Like, let's just play this one and dedicate ourselves to beat this game. And it was on sale on from Ubisoft on the PlayStation Store for like $14.99. So anybody that's interested in dipping in for the first time, that's probably a good time. If the sale's still going, it could be done by the time I speak of this. But so be it. And
also in Kingdom Hearts 3, it is absolutely beautiful.
I should expect. If it's not, why that 15 years is wasteful.
There was a tear that came down my eye when you go back to Twilight Town. Because I had recently played Kingdom Hearts 2 a lot the latter end of last year, and that was a gorgeous game at the time. HDifying Twilight Town. Twilight Town is a gorgeous world, in my opinion. I think it's a very beautiful, well-designed world, and just seeing it in 2019 updated with the PS4 graphics, I actually shed a tear.
You know what's interesting about Kingdom Hearts is the fact that I think that this game, to me, like, yes, it's funny how it's selling very well because it's been holding on to that miss factor where like everybody misses so much they just want to get their hands on and everything like that. But I still wish to this day that game should have came out earlier.
3 years earlier.
Yeah.
Or 5 years
I think, honestly, if the Kingdom Hearts was going to continue, I feel like this would have been the 5th one.
Yes.
Because all the other side projects they decided to do. I don't know what happened to that facility and stuff like that. But when you do a structure like that, to me, it's tough for me to really try to get back into caring a little bit more. So I am curious to try it, but I'm not in a huge rush either to try it. Cause I just feel like I want to complete the story per se, and I was hoping 3 would be complete the whole story, and then if they decide to do Kingdom Hearts again, we just get a new protagonist and we move on from there. But it is what it is. And then my last game, I'm slowly getting back to Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I kind of took a break from it because I've been focusing on projects. And I just wanted to play a couple of games where I can just, pick up and drop. So Apex Legends was one of those, and then The Witness, which I like to have a little glass of wine when I play Witness. Makes me feel smart when I drink wine and all that stuff.
Refined and educated.
Yes. And so, but no, those are the games that I've been playing. So let's go into our news and updates. So, Nintendo Direct. That was a thing that happened a couple weeks ago. I love Nintendo Directs.
It's like an E3 each week.
It is, but it's funny.
But it's not E3
at the
same time.
It's funny, too, because, like, sometimes they'll have hits, sometimes they'll miss. But I like the way they present it, and I think it gets better and better. Now, granted, no one can hold the throne as Iwata. Iwata, like, he made the he made the directs fun as hell, him and Reggie. But now they have a new person, and they do a good job. And I like the goofiness of it. Of they switch to the next thing as they're trying to promote for that.
Yes.
And this direct right here was a really, really good direct because you expected they were going to talk about just stuff that was coming up next. We thought we were going to be talking about like what the new Pokemon was going to be. We were going to talk about what Animal Crossing was going to be. And
this is the first one in a long time I've seen that they came out swinging.
They came out very swinging, and the cool part is there was a lot of surprise factors.
Yeah.
And I was very happy for them. It's hard, like you were talking about. You shed a tear when you Kingdom Hearts. That's something I need to look into. Like, was there ever a game I shed a tear on? And I need to look at that. Maybe Shadow Colossus might be one of them. But like to me, I'll get emotional about something.
When
but
Twilight Princess aired at E3, there were people crying in the audience because it was so gorgeous.
Yeah, I guess I'm thinking about me personally.
Okay,
yeah, me personally, have I shed a tear for something that I really, really care about? So I might say Shadow Colossus for now because I just recently bought the PS4 edition.
Ooh.
And so I had some extra credit at Vintage Stock, so I was like, let's go ahead and pick that up. But this Nintendo Direct, I think out of the last few, this is the one my emotions were kind of in a roller coaster a little bit because Nintendo is doing, to me, and people can be against it, but I think Nintendo is doing a fantastic job with what the direction they're doing the Switch, the games they're coming out with. Granted, some games are not, third-party games are, a hit and miss on the console, but Nintendo is taking a lot more ideas and chances to this, and I really appreciate them. So let's go ahead and get into some of the highlights because this is going to be a kind of a long news session. So Let's go ahead and go with the big hitter that everybody's been talking about. It's not my number one hype thing on here, but I'm happy for it. Let's go with Zelda, Link Awakening, a Game Boy game way back. No one saw that coming.
No, I did not see that coming. I got a text from my friend Cameron. I was like, what, really? I've got to look this up.
So a lot of people were surprised because at the very beginning, because Nintendo does a really, really good job with their animation when they did those scenes. And of course, they basically redid the intro to the Game Boy game where Link is, caught in a, whirlwind in the water on a raft, and he ended up crashing on this mysterious island, an island of iconic characters from other video games island. I consider this like a dream, basically. So I feel like they just goof around and everything like that. But if you don't know, that was strictly on the Game Boy. If you had a Game Boy Color, it changed a little bit, but not a huge difference. You had the 2 other Zelda games after that. They were kind of like, I don't want to say they're a sequel to The Awakening, but they were just saying the universe in the handheld realm per se. The Oracle Season, the Oracle Age, and then followed by the Minish Cap. And all that fun jazz. So from there, we get the cutscene, and then we just saw their rendition. It's still top down, very claymation looking. Yes, you can say, and it was cool because you got to see the Chomp Chomp from Mario, Goombas. There's a lot of Mario stuff in this game. There was the vending machine, the mysterious girl. Forgot her name, but she was like looks like a Hawaiian kind of girl with orange hair. She was basically one of the keepers of one of the people that live on the island. So Curtis, what's your take on Link Awakening? 1, have you played it? And 2, do you like the direction that they did with that?
I'm glad that they re-released it because not everybody had a Game Boy. Not everyone got to play the Game Boy Zeldas. And I think this was one of the big ones on Game Boy back in the day. Anytime when you give something a shiny new paint job, it's very impressive. Especially going back 30 years now?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, about 30 years. Yeah, it's been a while.
I mean, it's never been ported before. Has it been re-released?
No, not even in a collection of what sorts. Not like, we never had like a Zelda Game Boy collection that came out or anything like that. And so, it's funny too because Link kind of looks a little bit more familiar to Link Between Worlds that was on the 3DS.
Yes.
So, but I'm digging it. I think... if people were expecting a full blown 3D, what's the newest one?
Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, Breath of the Wild. I think they were really wishing too hard.
Yes.
Because Link Awakening was good, but it wasn't good enough to get a whole that kind of work on. So I think this was a better choice to me. And the fact that they did it was really a good consideration to them. So shout out to everybody that been loving Link Awakening since that beginning. To me, if I had to pick one that gets the full 3D effect, I think it'd be Link to the Past.
Yes.
I think that one should get that one next. Maybe that'd be argument with Ocarina of Time, but Ocarina of Time already got their treatment on the 3DS. So it is what it is. Super Mario Maker 2. This is very exciting for me because I've been wanting to play the first one, but with the Switch slowly going out the door, it was more like, I'll wait for the Switch. It has to come to the Switch. It'd be a waste of assets and money not to do it. So my wish came true, and I always wanted to do this. I always wanted to design my levels just to design levels. I thought it was cool. I'm a huge Mario fan. Mario World's my favorite. Curtis, yours is Mario...
It's the Galaxy.
Galaxy is your favorite. What about the 2D realm? If you had to pick one for the 2D realm, would you go
Super Mario World?
Super Mario World. Okay, so he's on Team World. So, yeah, I just love all the Mario games, and building your own stage, which seems like the genius idea.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And the fact that you can go in and play other people's levels, so there's always content non-stop.
Yes.
And then you get to put yours out there and see what people think of your ideas and everything like that. So I can't wait to see of the crazy ideas and come like that. One of the things they added on was the main thing was hills. So, you can build hills now. And I was thinking about that. I was like, oh, you couldn't do that in the first one. I don't know why that was not a consideration.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. And then there's new enemies. The menus are a little bit different now. They're kind of more like a menu wheel, so you can just pick the wheel, click you want, and then lay it down on there instead of I guess a tile set on your side that you could drag and all that stuff. It's gonna be interesting to see how that flows on the Switch.
Yes.
See which one is better than that, or on the controller or anything like that. So, and Luigi's part of it. So that's going to be cool. Wondering if amiibos are going to be implemented in this again, like the Wii U one. So where we're going to see a Link, Mega Man, all that kind of stuff coming through there. And so next one up, let's go into now. Granted, I am slowly trying to get into Fire Emblem. Fire Emblem. It has been a tough game because actually, Curtis, I'm trying to get into tactics a little bit. That's been one of my weakest links, so I've been trying to go into that. So like I've been playing the Game Boy Advance one, Final Fantasy Tactics Advance.
Yes.
I'm actually enjoying it. The thing about tactics with me is I hate playing long sessions. If I lose, then it's like, well, there goes 15 minutes of my life.
You're never gonna get back.
Yeah, so like I have to play that very slowly, but I'm digging it. Fire Emblem is one of them.
I could never do Fire Emblem because I got too attached to characters and just one mental misstep on my part. Oh crap! Come on.
So you get upset when you accidentally character die. I kind of like that because
yes.
It's a love and hate thing. Like I love the fact that like it's my choice that character died is because I made that choice that he accidentally lost or anything. But I hate it because like I made a dumb mistake to get him killed.
Yes.
Or I'm glad it's not pre-rendered. Like it's not preset. Like he's gonna die no matter what kind of thing. Right. It's more like I can get these characters to live through it. Or I could be by myself. I just kind of like that.
Rewarding if you get them to live through it.
Yeah. So I want to, if I get a chance, I might buy a copy of Fire Emblem Awakening. Mm-hmm. Unless that gets a Switch like remaster to it, that'd be awesome. But I want to start from there because I don't know if I can do the Super Nintendo era. I think that ship sells for me. I think I have to kind of go more in the middle, hit the modern, modern, like maybe 2 generations back, maybe like
on the DS ones.
Yeah. The DS or even GameCube. Yep. There was one on there. That's where I came from, the GameCube one, kind of like that. Nothing retro and back for me. It's just too tough.
Far.
Now, granted, the Game Boy Advance ones are a little bit like Super Nintendo, but they're kind of up doing that. So why we talk about like Fire Emblem is getting their newest entry is called Three Houses. I think it's supposed to be like 3 games. It's like 3 different Fire Emblems. And if you know Fire Emblem nowadays, ever since the Game Boy Advance, the DS versions always get like 2 sides.
Yes.
So you get like 2 different sides of it's basically the Pokemon method. You either your team A or team B, and then, different stories, different characters and all that kind of stuff. This one's going to have 3, and it was supposed to come out March, but it got pushed back to July 26th. So it's not too far away, but it's good. It's good. It's still coming out.
Better product. Push it back.
Summer's going to be packed because also too, Super Mario Maker is supposed to come out in June, and then Link Awakening is still TBA. It's coming out this year, but they don't have a certain date yet. This next one that comes out is my personal favorite out of all the directs. Astral Chains from the new game from Platinum Games will be out August 30th. Nintendo and Platinum is one of my favorite combos ever. I actually, Curtis, I'm making this announcement right now. Platinum Games is in my top 5 favorite developers of all time. They just do such a wonderful job at what they do. Like they know what they're doing and they stuck with it.
Yeah.
And sadly enough, they were working on an RPG project with another company, but they end up getting kicked off and they're being finished. I forgot what the game's called, but that game looks gorgeous too. Like I said, they're just really good at what they're doing. These are people that did Wonderful 101. They did Vanquish. They did the Bayonetta 1, 2, and 3 to be coming soon. They did Nier Automata. They done Mad World. They have done. They did a release and cancel game of Scalebound that was been the hype train for the Xbox One exclusives. They done a little bit of everything. Oh, they even touched the Star Fox series a little bit there. Too bad Star Fox didn't work out very well.
Legend of Korra game too.
They did license ones, including Team Ninja Turtles. But we found out that Platinum should not be doing licensed ones because I don't think they get the freedom.
Right.
Because the Turtle game to me was a perfect fit for Platinum, but I think Activision was really set on like, this is your rules, you can't do anything outside of that. And so, but Astral Chain, this is really cool because they're kind of going to that crazy kind of style game I like, and it's set in a cyberpunk kind of world where it's you and a partner, but one partner is human and this other partner can like morph into certain things robotic wise and everything like that. The game just looks freaking gorgeous. It looks awesome. It reminds of you like old anime shows like AD Burn or anything was like Cops.
Appleseed.
Appleseed, but also to what is that show called? It had to do with the girls. Bubble Pop something. Bubblegum. Is it Bubblegum Crisis? I think so. I'll have to look it up, but I believe it was called Bubblegum Crisis. Give me a second. Yes, called Bubblegum Crisis. Yeah. And so it's just basically kind of that partnership, sci-fi set into that kind of world. I don't want to say Ghost in the Shell. That's a little bit too serious, but this one is more of like just super action packed. Curtis, how did you feel about it? Did you take a look at the video work and all that kind of stuff?
I did not, but I'm very impressed by the screenshots that I'm seeing of it.
Okay. I'm gonna play this clip for you, Curtis, while we're continue on. But one of the things too I really liked about it was this is a big challenge for Platinum Games for me because this is the first time we're seeing you control like 2 characters.
Yes.
And I guess they call it Israel chain because this chain is what connects them. So it's kind of like you and your partners coming together, working together at the same time doing something. And it's kind of like a boy and his dog kind of feel. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to say he's your pet, but like it's more of like you two have to work together to doing stuff like that. And maybe you're by yourself and your character is playing an AI. And you guys just work together of what you're doing here. And then one of the other things we've seen too is we're seeing certain like glitches going on in the city. So certain things are falling, some things are going on, fires are being set. So like I said, this is coming out August 30th. I am very hype about this game. Curtis, does this interest you at all?
Absolutely. This would be something in my library if I had a Switch.
Okay. Curtis, when you get a Switch, you're gonna have such a wonderful library of games.
The list is growing of games I need to get for the Switch when I eventually get one.
Right. And so let's go ahead and go into our next one. Oh, by the way, he can turn into a dog robot. That's pretty awesome. Okay, so next up, Dragon Quest XI is getting a special edition
for the Switch.
And in this one, apparently, Curtis, it comes with a soundtrack, and you can translate between English and Japanese. Yes. But one of the cool part is you can switch between the 16-bit version, and the regular one,
16-bit version. Of it.
So that's pretty cool. The reason why is because Dragon Quest has came out for the 3DS, but it's only in Japan right now. So I guess they're bundling that up sort of a cool way for the Switch edition. Now I think now is worth the wait for me to wait for that one that's coming out this fall.
Yes.
Than playing it now on the PS4 because Travis Hanna from the Bond Never Dies, he saw that and he's like, I'm gonna have to double dip. And so like because he's a huge Dragon Quest person, you know. So I'm very hype about that. Curtis, does that one interest you more than the original one, or are you gonna still get the?
Still gonna get the original one on the PS4.
Okay. Would you double dip?
But if I had money, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. So that's coming out this fall. There's no official date yet. I will probably be jumping on there. Dragon Quest has been a weird series for me. I never finished Dragon Quest because I end up. Those games are very, very long. I feel like they're longer than Final Fantasy games sometimes.
They're very grind heavy.
Yeah, and sometimes I kind of get burn out and move on to something else. I had 7, and then I got burned out and went to something else. But maybe I'll give this one a little bit better, more of a try on this one. Because I think one of my goals is I need to beat at least one Dragon Quest game in my life. So maybe this one. 8 I almost beat. I would like to go back to 8.
And play my favorite.
Yeah, I would probably go back to 8 and play that one. Maybe on the 3DS in the future. Maybe I'll pick that one up. And so, the next
they added content to it on the 3DS.
Yes, because they added
2 characters and there was 2 alternate endings.
Yeah, that's another thing they add for Dragon Quest 11. There's a new story added to it, and so Damien X Machina, one of my most anticipated games of last year's E3 session. This is from the same people that did Armor Core. Series. Armor Core was a mixed love with me. I like some of them I didn't like, but this one was really cool. It's basically like Gundam on acid. It looks amazing. It looks fun. But if you have a Switch right now, you can actually play the demo as we speak. There's three missions, including a big boss fight at the end. I'm probably gonna play it tonight. Kind of give it a try. I want to play it on my big TV, so I want to give that a try. This game looks fantastic. Have you heard of this game?
I have not.
You haven't heard about this game. Okay. Basically, it's really hard to tell you, Curtis, but you just need to know it's just full of like, an action-packed kind of style kind of game. And so I really enjoy the creativity and the craziness of what this game provides for it. It is set, I think, on Mars.
Gundam vibe, yeah.
I think it's set on Mars in the city, and it's one of those levels. It's one of these games where you're set on the mission, and you're just supposed to like complete like either destroying robots and everything like that. But you can always collect new weapons. There's a skill tree. You can always just customize how you want your bot to be,
look, yeah,
and all that kind of stuff. And so it just looks very, very epic like. So I'm very hyped for this one. So Curtis, I definitely would keep an eye on this one. It almost looks part platinum-ish.
Yes.
You can say, but the animation is just really beautifully done. And so let's go into our next news, and that will be Uninaki. This is a Square Enix game that's coming out from the people that did I Am Sorata and Lost Sphere. And this one is
I Am Setsuna.
Oh, I Am Setsuna. And I am hyped for this one more than the other two that they done. This one looks really unique. And I think it's at a time where I think it's Square Enix doing something a little bit more Square Enix feel for me. Mm-hmm. They're not keep rolling with a franchise. They're kind of just, doing something a little bit.
Just something a little different.
It's like Octopath Traveler. It was more of like, something kind of fresh, something kind of new, makes everything look more fresh. Now, granted, some stuff kind of reminds you a little bit of Breath of the Wild kind of look to it and everything like that. But this is not a turn-based. This is
action-based.
Action-based, hack and slash. But you're going around and you're collecting these souls, and these souls can be your partners. And that determines more of your gameplay and whatnot. Are you a fan of the other two games, I Am Setsuna and Lost Sphere? Have you had a chance to ever play those?
I've seen a playthrough of I Am Setsuna.
Okay. And so I'm very hyped for this. I recommend everybody taking a look at that. But like I said, you're collecting these souls, and like I said, they do different stuff. It almost reminds you of a little bit of Xenoblade Chronicles, where you partner up with another person, and that's where your combos and stuff or your game mechanics is coming from, depending on who you want.
What they're linked with.
Yeah, who they're linked with and everything like that. It feels like a small indie game kind of look, but but I really appreciate it. It kind of reminds you of the back in the old like Super Nintendo era kind of stuff like that. And so and I think that's also coming out for PS4 too, so don't feel like you're lost, Curtis. Like, you can play it too. Followed by Rune Factory 4 from the same developers for that. Starlinks, just a quick another mission for Star Fox. If you're Star Fox fans, you're going in there. Smash Bros. Is getting an update, 3.0 update, getting ready for Joker from Persona being put in there. It would have been a big surprise to see Persona 5 could have got announced at this one. I think Persona 5 is coming for the Switch. I just don't know when. Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. They went into more details about it. Curtis, you are a huge Marvel fan.
I am so missing out on this one. This is definitely on my list of why to buy a Switch.
And so you really want that one, huh?
I was a huge fan of the first two Alliance games, all the way back to the PS2 X-Men Legends games.
Okay.
Where we would not have the Ultimate Alliance if those two games did not do well.
Right.
Very excited. Very glad that Marvel and the developers are bringing that back.
Thank you for Nintendo for.
Thank you, Nintendo.
For doing
absolutely.
that, because it's being created by is it Tecmo Koei? Is that the ones, or is it Team Ninja?
I think Team Ninja.
Team Ninja. I think they're under them, I want to say. I could be wrong, but I'll have to fact check that later. But other smaller news before we wrapped up this part.
There was an honorable mention. It caught my eye. Bloodstained.
Bloodstained. Oh, yeah. Let's talk about Bloodstained. From the people, from one of the ex-developers from your Castlevania series. Yep. They did a game last year. I think it's called Castle of Blood. That was a short 8-bit kind of HD cool kind of game on all consoles. Is kind of like Castlevania feel. You get to switch different characters, and the main character of that game, she is in there. This one's coming out for all consoles, of course, but on the Switch one, nothing too like different. But one of the things they add on is you can kind of customize your character a little bit. You can give her like new hair, new looks, new clothes, and all this kind of stuff.
But yeah, I wanted to give it a shout out because aesthetically, it looks like Castlevania. It looks like it would feel like Castlevania.
It almost looks like a pop-up book almost.
Yeah.
It's a 2.5D kind of style game. So I didn't hear a date on it.
No.
But it's supposed to come out this year, they said. And then Yoshi's Crafted World is coming out March 29th. Final Fantasy 9 is out right now, followed by Final Fantasy 7 coming out March 26th, I want to say. And then anything else to wrap this all up? No, that's basically everything.
Square Enix, why do you hate Final Fantasy 8?
Right. Well, maybe it's because Final Fantasy 8 is getting some kind of treatment.
I hope so.
That's what I think. Because 10 and 12 are coming on there. I think it's funny too because 9 used to be the black sheep.
Yes.
And now 8 is the black sheep. of this. 8 and 6 are basically the black sheep of the series.
I just saw that 9 came out. I was like, well, 7's. Oh my gosh, poor 8. I didn't like 8, but
I know, Kurt. I love how you're like, oh, poor 8. I don't like you, but I believe you deserve something.
I'm gonna extend my hand out to you, 8. God bless you.
But like I said, maybe they're getting a special treatment. Maybe they'll get a remaster, and maybe it'll come out for both of them or all 3 consoles. I don't know, because now they said it's out right now for the Switch. I can't say what Xbox. Maybe it's out right now for Xbox, but you might have to look that up for yourself and find more information about it. Any other things you want to add, Curtis, before we wrap this direct?
That's about it.
Okay. Now, speaking of that, there's a follow-up. Nintendo has announced that there's a game that's dead and buried they're going to bring back, and there's a lot of speculation going on. There's some stuff they're talking about. Maybe it's in-house. Maybe some stuff is going out of the house, third parties and everything like that. People are talking about first-party games like maybe Metroid Dread. That's one of people's games they're talking about, but I think that Metroid since got delayed, I don't think there's not going to be multiple Metroid games anytime soon. So Metroid Dread, I think that ship is gone. They mentioned that because it was supposed to be like a follow-up to the Fusion, and to me on that, I think that since Prime is not doing very well and it got held back and is in redevelopment, I don't know how they would have time to do another one on top of that. So I rather them just focus on Prime 4.
Title.
Yeah. Now, rumor has it, and I believe that a trilogy is going to come for it, the Metroid Prime trilogy, because I think that'd be a good way to hold people over for a little bit until Metroid Prime 4 comes out. But a lot of people are speculating that Nintendo has been picking up a lot of franchises that have been dying off. Bayonetta, without Nintendo, Bayonetta 2 would not exist.
Exactly.
And I think that's where the relationship of Platinum Games was going into Marvel Alliance. Marvel Alliance was going to go away. Then they picked it up, And so
it was AWOL. That franchise was completely AWOL until E3 last year. Oh my gosh.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
It is exclusively for Switch. Oh no, Sony! What the hell?
Right.
Come on.
Right. Like Sony's doing their own thing, but I think Nintendo's doing a good job of making Nintendo's doing a good job shining. They're doing a good job shining and grabbing this stuff while it's on the market. Like, people want this. Let's grab it now and just see what we can do with it. And it's interesting that they're getting different developers to do it too. Like, never thought Team Ninja was going to do that.
Yeah.
Never thought it was going to do that. I couldn't tell because it wasn't a part of Activision's library.
Yes, it was.
So I don't know what happened.
What happened there?
Yeah, in between that. So rumor has it that Scalebound has been talked about. And Scalebound was a game that was coming out for Xbox One. And it was in development. It was in talk. It was in E3. It looked good. It looked like a younger Dante / Necro. Is it Necro from DMC? Is that his name? The white... The small kid I think it's Necro. I'm going to go with Necro. Necro sounds right. By the way, I like the younger Devil May Cry character from the DMC better than Necro. I think Necro's kind of boring. So he looked cool. He had a huge dragon as his partner. This dragon was an AI. You saw these giant dragon battles that were awesome and everything like that. Canceled by Microsoft. Don't know what happened. Fun fact, it's funny that they canceled that, then we got Crackdown 3. I'm going to let people pause about that. Like, yeah, you guys got Crackdown 3. I don't know what happened in there, but I think Crackdown 3 is done, and we're going to move on from that. And I think that maybe you guys should have put Crackdown 3 on the back burner and got Scalebound out there. I think people want to Scalebound more than, Crackdown 3. Curtis, did Scalebound interest you when it first got announced? Did that interest you at all? Were you
I wasn't familiar with it. Okay. I am curious to learn more about it, though.
Okay. Definitely check it out. It had a lot of potential. The multiplayer was kind of it was a bunch of you looking like clones running around with your own dragon and stuff like but it looks great, but it got canceled. Rumor has it is that it might get revived by Nintendo, only because Nintendo and Platinum's relationship has done so much things together and done so well that people are thinking this is the one that's going to come out because it's going to dead and bury. Now, granted, this would be kind of a cool dream to come true, but at the same time, I'm still kind of skeptical about it because, if they do end up making that game, I think it has to be named something else because Microsoft did a trademark. Yeah. They basically copyright the trademark for it, so I think it has to be called something else. But it is a game from the head developer. That was one of his dream projects. So if Nintendo can make that dream come true, that'd be kind of cool and everything like that.
Tetris 99.
Oh, let's talk about that was the one that caught me off guard. The Battle Royale Tetris.
The Battle Royale Tetris Highlander, where there's only gonna be one.
There can only be one winner. I want to play this game, but I'm not yet to get Switch Online yet. But it looks really kind of cool. Are you a Tetris fan?
Yes, I am. So I love Tetris.
So far I don't know if it's only on Switch.
It looks like I'd assume so.
But if it does come on PS4. Maybe take a look at it.
Absolutely.
And so definitely check that one out.
Just the concept of this, like there's 99 players, one winner. One person comes out on top.
I'm surprised with that idea. I'm not surprised there's not a Smash Brothers Battle Royale kind of style like that where like maybe they have 4 of you in a map and then whoever wins just sits there and then whoever wins one gets into the next round there, like a Battle Royale kind of style. Anyways, that's
almost like a WrestleMania.
Yeah, kind of like that. So, but that's another talk for another day. But back to Scalebound, though, like I said, I think that'd be kind of like a dream come true per se, but I'm not holding my breath, Yeah. And I want to do a special, I'm going to pretend there's a camera in front of me. I'm going to look at Nintendo. Nintendo, I think you just need to stop playing around and, take Platinum out for dinner and just pop the question to them. Just let them buy you. Just let Nintendo just buy you up. They got the ring. Just Nintendo just needs to commit. I think they just do a wonderful job. And if anybody ends up buying Platinum as a gold mine,
yes,
Nintendo just needs to just do that. Because now I want Monolith Soft and Platinum to do something together. RPG Platinum style. I don't know. But I think Nintendo Platinum just have a great combination together. I think they do well together. I think Nintendo gives them more free range to do stuff, all that. So I think that they should. You think Platinum should go with Nintendo, or do you think they should go with someone else? I know you're going to say Sony. Yeah, I know you're going to say Sony, but deep in your heart, deep in your heart that Sony and Platinum don't really have a lot of combos together.
No.
Look, Platinum to Nintendo is like Square Enix to PlayStation.
Yeah, exactly.
But PlayStation had to file a divorce after, Square Enix kind of had an affair with Xbox and kind of had Nintendo on the side.
Picked up the old flame of Nintendo.
Yeah, Nintendo's coming back with flowers. Like, come on, man. Can you at least give me something? Give me something. It's like,
all right, here's Dragon Quest Joker.
Right. I'm not gonna give you my full stuff. I'm not gonna give you my main Final Fantasy stuff, but I'll throw you a little Crystal Chronicle on the side.
Yes. Or Chocobo Tales.
Right. Something that's right. I'll give you Cloud.
Yep.
And then maybe if you treat me right, I'll throw 7 in there. Not the remaster. I don't like you that much. All right. Yep. So, anyways, that's it for our news. So let's go into our updates. Curtis and I are working on a secret project that we do not want to discuss yet. Hopefully, it'll work out soon. It will say it is an anime. We don't have a date or anything like that. We want to take our time and all this stuff. Curtis has been hard at it, watching a lot of shows. Helping me out and everything like that. That's the only project we're working on right now until further notice. Nam and I are getting ready to premiere our show hopefully in a couple more weeks. We have a new title that we're sure no one will take, and we're ready to get our podcast going. We have other projects going on. I have my game session with Jaron from the Retro Game Society. We're doing a Let's Play session. We're starting with 10 episodes. We're going to be playing a lot of old school arcade games and have fun topics to talk about. One of them we're actually going back to is Captain America and Avengers, and we'll be talking about our top 3 favorite Marvel movies of all time to us. So, and movies, characters that we love to have their own movie and our top favorite villains of all time.
Absolutely.
And then we just finished one game called Ninja Baseball Batman, and that was a really cool, awesome game. Have you heard of that, Curtis?
I have not.
So you definitely have to check this out. We're ringing around by 20 to 30 minute sessions, and we're just talking, having fun, and just talking about the game and everything about that. Fun fact, in that game, they have the funny part is that you'll play a lot of roller games, and you'll look at backgrounds. I like to look at backgrounds to see what's going on. There was a restaurant we walked past, and they were selling steak for $5.99. And I'm like, what restaurant have you been in your life? They give you steak for $5.99. Not even sirloin. So, anyways, we got a bunch of more coming on the way. Travis, Han, and I, we do a James Bond podcast called Bond Never Dies, and we are now recording our part 3. We just finished our Timothy Dalton era. That's only 2 movies.
You guys are entering my favorite era of Bond movies.
I think it's a lot of people's favorite because that's what we all grew up
with.
Yeah, yep. So it'll be interesting to go back and revisit those and just see how they look.
If how they hold up. Yep.
Exactly. And we can't wait because we are planning, as soon as we're done watching all the movies, we will be doing a strictly video series after that, doing our top 5 Bonds, our top 5 Bond girls, the top 5 moments, fights, goofy fights, all that kind of stuff to help promote the audio versions of it. And so be ready for that. I'll have more dates on that. But you can find all these shows on Twitter and Facebook when they come out. Just make sure you look up for In-Game Boss Program. And you can find my show, you're listening right now, and all our shows on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Spotify. Now, YouTube, you can actually look for our show separately. So if you enjoy Gaming Halls of Rivalries and you want to check out the show, just type it in. You'll find it immediately. And so definitely check that out. I am reposting all those shows like in a rerun, so you give people a chance to re-see all these shows because, you know, it happened 6 months ago. So we want to relive those moments with y'all. So definitely check those out. Curtis, anything you want to add before we take a break?
That is it.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about key things to us that we think led to PlayStation's success as we speak right now. We'll be right back. Hi. If you love video games and you love video game icons or characters, then please walk down the gaming halls of rivalries with us as we go through 2 iconic characters that rival each other in the gaming industry. Gaming characters like Mario and Sonic,
or Lara Croft and Nathan Drake,
or like Dante and Bayonetta,
and Master Chief and Samus.
If you enjoy these characters, then please visit the Gaming Halls of Rivalries as part of the In-Game Boss program and enjoy fun information and fun stories and the future of these characters. Thank you. And welcome back to the In-Game Boss podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Evans, with my mini boss, Curtis Scism. Today we're going to be talking about PlayStation. You know, I don't do a lot of shows where I dedicate towards a certain console. I'm kind of a little bit of everywhere. Most of the time when I do my topics, I'll pick a topic and then
touch everything
about it. But I always try to think outside the box. Back in my gamer stand era, I always try to think more creativity of like to get my listeners. And like, you know, one of my favorite ones I did was my Ocean 11 one. I want to bring back. I might do an Ocean 12 one where we take 12 game characters that can do a heist together. I like that kind of craziness. You know what I mean? Have you had a chance to listen to that one ever?
No.
That was a good one because John Robles was a judge. So John Stone and I would pick our characters and we would present them.
Yeah.
And then John Robles would pick which one he thinks is a good choice for that. And I would love to do that again and do that for Ocean 12 where we pick 12 characters. But we had Snake on there. We had Sly Cooper on there. We had Tiny Tina from Borderlands as like the bomb expert.
I put Nathan Drake on there.
Nathan Drake was on there.
Good.
He was on there. We had Diddy Kong. He was more of like the acrobatic. If you ever seen Ocean 11 with George Clooney, we were picking the parts that would fit that role for those parts. So like we had to pick who are our top 2 like combo characters.
Who your brains were, who would
be the George Clooney, who would be the Brad Pitt, and Nathan Drake was the Brad Pitt. I forgot who was our George Clooney into that matter because we were talking about like those 2 could be a great combo together. And so there was a lot of like great picks. If you have to go back and kind of just look at our list. It was really creative how we did. I think they did the whole remember thing off my Facebook, so I might show you a picture of that later and let you just kind of see like, oh, okay, this is pretty cool. But I like doing activities like that.
An Expendables one would be funny too.
Expendable ones would be good. I like to pick characters that like who would be a better hero to save the princess in sort of ways, you know. So I hopefully I want to bring more back to that. The more listeners I get in, the more I'll get more creative with it. Because I don't want those people to miss those exciting episodes. So, because this show here particularly is more like staying in the current, but also being more creative. Because like other podcast shows, you know, they'll do news and they'll talk about like what the headline news of that. And I feel like that I don't want to be in that train because then like, you know, people will be like, hey, you're like every other show. Why do I want to listen to you if I can go listen to this? Because yes, I do my news just for the highlights of the news and stuff like that. But at the same time, you can get your news from everything else, right?
I will always love the co-optional podcast. I love Ian, the game, and the completely unnecessary podcasts, but those are very much variety shows in a sense too.
Yeah. I always just like listeners to listen to the show and then let them think as we're going with it. Like, as I'm talking about this, what's on your mind while we're doing this?
Yours are almost more conversations.
Yeah, that's basically. And it's a good way to get my guests to speak out a little bit more, break out of their comfort zone because they have to think a little bit and then, going back and forth. And I think that's what worked with you when you were my first guest in the show. I kind of got you going out, even like getting you hype. If I can get you hype, get you out of your comfort zone, then like I'm doing a good job. So today we're going to be talking about PlayStation. We're going to talk about the success of PlayStation, but not the way you guys are thinking. We're going to be talking about what we think was a success to the PlayStation. We're not talking about exclusives. We're not talking about, money. We're not talking about, what their strategies were. We're going to talk about key items, because you can have all these ideas, but you have to have key items to it. Let's take, for example, like McDonald's. McDonald's is a fast food place, but they had to have that one burger that had to get them going, right? You got 1,000 ideas, but there's that one piece that was that just shipped you off you going. You know what I mean? And I think that's even in our lives, even from like relationships, maybe there was a key item for you that triggered you to like, you guys were meant to be together, kind of things like that. Or Disney had their own formula. What was it? Toy Story might have been that thing. So to us, we're going to talk about, in our point of view, what are key items for us. So we did 4, and if you did extra, awesome. Maybe I said something that might take you off you might have something on your list I have. Maybe you have a backup plan to switch that around. And so let's go in and talk about some of these. Curtis, would you like to go first? Or you want me to go first?
I'll let you go first.
Okay, so I think one of the most key items, and by the way, this is counting all PlayStation 1, 2, 3, Vita, PSP, 4, all of it.
Yeah.
What we think key items.
This is Sony as a whole in their gaming branch.
Yeah, and we're not going in order of, PlayStation. What do we think was a key? No, we're jumping around. What we think just key items to keep them going. So my first one, I think, is the obvious one. I put that DVD player. I think most homes since the PS2 era, people got that console for 2 things. 1, for games. 2, for just a DVD player, and maybe playing games afterwards. I think it was a brilliant point for PlayStation 2 to hit that stride up, because that was during the time where DVDs were just getting started and everything like that, and PlayStation 2 made the right decision. Now, if Dreamcast had that idea, maybe they would have been more of a battle, because think about it, Dreamcast at the time was the top graphical console at the time. Before PS2 came out, it was going into the internet. It was doing all this stuff. Yeah. It was beautiful. It was doing great. But PlayStation hit them hard when it was that DVD player.
Yes.
And I think that's what hurt really bad for the Dreamcast.
And when we talk DVD player too, that was introduced with the PS2. The PS2 was literally a computer box.
Yes.
You actually had a keyboard that you could hook up to it. You had some limited internet, I believe. Yeah. And the fact that I think that when it came to the PS3, we moved up to the Blu-ray players. Yes.
The video games were getting that same format too. And so that right there, I think, set that bar of, except for Nintendo, that a DVD player of some sort had to be part of that. It was like a requirement almost, except like I say, except for Nintendo, because Nintendo ended up doing their own thing, like GameCube with the little discs,
and that set up
Wii was doing something else.
One of my favorite marketing campaigns for Sony was "It only does everything."
Exactly. That's a good commercial. I remember that commercial. So that was a very important key item to me to their success. Curtis, your turn. What you got?
So I had a really hard time just narrowing it down to stuff. And these are going to be very broad things.
You're okay.
But I'm going to focus them. The ethics of single-player focus, I think, has been Sony's big bread and butter, all the way back from the PS1 to today.
Now,
back in college, you used to say, like, oh, if you want to play party games or multiplayer, you get an Xbox. If you want solo play, you buy a Sony. I think Sony held true to that for 20 years.
Do you think, in your opinion, it was bigger than Nintendo's solo single-player stuff? In your opinion?
Yes.
Okay.
I think so.
Okay.
Because before the Wii, and this is when it really took off too, because the Wii was such a turnoff for some developers doing the motion controls. Sony, because they stayed traditional, they just ate up a lot of those contracts. You
can see that from going into the PlayStation and PlayStation 2, because PlayStation was a third-party bus more than single player games. Like if you go, I couldn't tell you right now, and maybe I'm just not trying hard enough. I couldn't give you 5 in-house PlayStation games on the PS1 alone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was a lot more third parties that people remember. And that's why that PlayStation Classic was tough for people, because like there wasn't a lot of single player. I mean, the Sony in-house one. It wasn't until the PS2, I think, you're right, that started picking up. That's where you got your Ratchet and Clank, your Jack and Dexter, your
and I'm
your
just,
Rise Cries and all that stuff.
Brief list. Dragon Ball's Budokai series came out of that. That had 3 games, and it spawned on several other games. Dragon Quest 8, most notably for me, was just a game changer for me. The JRPGs flourished on the PS2.
Okay.
And none of these were multiplayers. They were all single player focused. It's either live by the 3 or die by the 3. Sony at that time was going to live by the single player or die by the single player. You have all these modern articles of like, are single player games dead? Oh, is this the trend? Is it going to be the MMORPGs and stuff? Sony just kind of gives a middle finger and releases Spider-Man and
right,
Red Dead. They just literally have their ears plugged up. Like, you know what? That's your opinion, but this is what we're doing.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think that hard-nosed stubbornness has made Sony very identical of, I cannot wait for the next Sony game. I wonder what Sony's got in their hands on now. The Ghost of Tsushima that's coming out looked by Sucker Punch, that samurai game. Oh my god, that blew my mind.
For people that don't know Sucker Punch, they're known for the infamous series and Sly Cooper. And so, okay. So my next one, this is a bit of a cheat because I'm pretty sure it's on your list. I'm going to go ahead and just knock it off your list. Speaking of single player, we had Nintendo. Nintendo's always going to be known for one icon, Mario. Xbox is going to be known for their icon, Master Chief. During the beginning of PlayStation, they didn't really have their own icon yet. No. Crash was in the debate. If you listen to our Game Halls of Rivalries, we talked about...
Oh my gosh, we talked about Ratchet and Clank and...
Jack and Dexter. We were talking about... Curtis made a point about who was going to be the king, representative of PlayStation.
It was literally, and I jump back to that episode, I imagined a wrestling ring of, this is the face of our company, Crash Bandicoot. Yeah. In comes Sly Cooper with a chariot, in comes Ratchet and Clank, saying, hold on there, buddy.
Right.
And you just had... Yeah, the Sony was fighting for its identity, and it worked.
So, but during the PlayStation 1 era, there was a game I think took the world to the new level, and it was the thing I think was the big cutoff for Nintendo, and that's Final Fantasy VII.
Yes.
I don't know if that's on your list or not.
No,
okay,
it is not.
Okay, so I'm surprised, Curtis. I'm very surprised. I expect
I was thinking higher than that.
No, I think Final Fantasy VII was a big trigger point because at the time it was the best looking game at the beginning of that era. It was the first Final Fantasy game outside of Nintendo. It was the first Final Fantasy game to go into the next gen. And it was strictly for Sony.
It was very cutting edge.
Yes.
And it sold systems unbelievably.
And I think that was one of the key items that had to get that PlayStation going. Because I think if it didn't have that, maybe Sony would have been around, but PS2 would have been a hard sell.
Yes.
For that era. So, any additional stuff you want to add for Final Fantasy VII?
Besides it being just a complete game changer, I know that it was a system seller because when that trailer released, that cutscene trailer that they used in the American TV, I was like, Mom, I gotta get a PS1.
Also, I'll add, and maybe you disagree with this or not, but I think it was also a big of a trickery for people because I think it was maybe Metal Gear did it first, but it was the first mindset of multiple discs.
Yes,
that was a 4-disc game, so it always felt like, wow, I'm in for a long run for this game. Because you never had a game where you had to exchange discs because the game was so big that you couldn't fit it on. So it was that mindset.
Yeah.
And so Final Fantasy VII was, I think, one of the biggest key items. What's up? What you got over there?
Sony's culture, and this goes from the single player. They're very game centric. If you've ever watched an E3 for Sony, especially the last 5 years, they've just gone game after game after game. They maybe have a guy talk 5 minutes about just rambling on about something or the future of the company. But other than that, they just bombard you with title after title after title. And you go back to the Xbox One debacle in 2013, Sony just kicked Microsoft in the nuts, undercut the Xbox One by $100. I'm not sure how many of you listen to Angry Joe. He was a Microsoft exclusive guy until the Xbox One, the no used games and stuff. He's like, damn it, Sony broke me, guys. I'm finally buying a PlayStation. It's the players. You definitely felt as a consumer, even on the other side, on the Microsoft side, it's like, man, Sony's really putting the consumers up first. No recommended login time, no internet connection. There was a funny commercial. How do you play a used game on a PS4? And yes, and Sony took complete pleasure in. We are about you, the gamers, and the players.
I also felt like that was a big thing for PS4 because the PS3 was a bit of a struggle for them too. Yeah, because they had
the reverse problem was the price.
The price was the hurtful part because they were making it seem like $800 to $700 was worth you and the backwards compatibility that went with that. So they were trying to sell you two consoles in one, which did not work for that because the PS2 did PS1s and that was not that high either. So the next thing was a big struggle for them at that E3 was they were trying too many ideas. Remember the PS camera they were really trying to sell at the time, and they were trying to do that Wonder Health, that art book, and their presentation was just lagging too much. They were too busy demonstrating and doing stats, and they're like, we don't care about stats, we don't care about selling games.
I love that you bring that up because 10 years ago, Sony was doing exactly what the Microsoft was doing 4 years ago. They're doing too much. Hey, look what you can do on the system. You can watch Madden. You can do this. No, we don't care if it gives shit about that stuff. We won't give us our games, man.
Right. Like all this information, you could put this on a site for us to read. We don't need this in the presentation. Less presenters, more games.
And I'm going to bring up honorable mention to Kevin Butler, who was played by Jerry Lambert. He was the fictitious CEO on the Sony Only Does Everything commercials. You literally had a 30 to 45 second commercial of this guy telling you about games. Like, God, this is gorgeous. Look how beautiful this game is.
Right.
And it's he never talked about gameplay features. He just like, look at what we're doing here at Sony.
Right.
Find something that's as gorgeous as this.
I think Sony, what they needed a Reggie. They didn't have a Reggie Fils-Aimé. Like Reggie Fils-Aimé had that aura when he came in. The first line he says, "I'm all about video games and kicking ass."
And I think Sony took note of that because 2010 E3 they actually let Kevin Butler do a segment on the E3 stage.
Yeah.
The other thing in staying within Sony's culture, they are huge risk takers. The huge risk takers.
Are you speaking like now, or you think always?
I think the last 5 years they've been more. Let's look at the indie scene. Let's kind of break out, and it's all stayed single player focused. It's all stayed very game centric.
Okay.
Let's take a look at this David Cage guy and his Quantic Dreams. Okay. Who would have ever thought QTE's a playable movie would sell so many copies?
Yeah.
I'm talking about Heavy Rain. I'm talking about Indigo Prophecy.
I was going to mention that because that was multi-platform, and
those were
I think that was the trigger for them to look into them for further projects.
Now, Heavy Rain, Quantic Dreams has been exclusive the last 3 games.
Yes, but would you say that Indigo Prophecy was that trigger for them to look at Quantum Dreams?
Yes, right? Absolutely.
Okay.
And Sony is very funny because I'll mention this Patapon for PSP. Actually had 2 games. It was a
correction, 3.
3 games.
3 now. Yes.
It was a rhythm based.
I think it's Vita 2.
It was a rhythm based game where you tap out a drum beat.
Yeah, I haven't. I need to try it.
Those gave instructions to your little tribe to throw spears, to defend against monsters. And it's just like, whoever thought of this? Like, God, this is actually really fun.
I'll give you that.
Sony will completely... I think where Microsoft has its head up its ass is like, oh, let's just do another Call of Duty. Let's play it safe. Sony, to some degree, will do that, but they kind of look out. They peek over the fence sometimes.
Yeah.
And when they do, I don't know how they do it, but they grab gold.
I think just like PlayStation at the beginning. And I no, you're right. You're right in your way, but I think this is them at their prime where we're making
where they can afford to do that.
The idea, because think about it, like PlayStation 1 was really, very careful what they're going to pick into the thing. And it wasn't until PS2 where the Japanese was where their selling point.
Yeah.
And then PS3, they were going with a bunch of ideas, but some of it backfired on some ideas that have. But same thing with Microsoft. Microsoft was being safe about their 360. I think they just went crazy because when they did the arcade stuff, that's when they started kind of getting more.
What is so funny about the PS3 era, that was a fumble of a start.
It was.
But
it got
you
better.
had so many ties that hung over into the next generation. They got introduced with Sucker Punch and Infamous. They dug in with Naughty Dog. Naughty Dog stayed true to them, and they delivered 3 gorgeous games on the PS3 with Uncharted.
Yeah.
The Prince of Persia series.
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
From
Ubisoft.
Thank you.
Go on.
And again, Sony just takes these risks. They look at I'm throwing a shout out to Life is Strange. I never thought I'd be so invested in a high school girl's life with rewind powers. There's little to no gameplay, but man, do I want to know what happens next.
Right. My next one is dual analog, the DualShock controller. I think that if they did not introduce the dual analogs on the bottom of your controller, I think they would have probably failed. Because a lot of those games needed that dual. If you go back and play a lot of those games without the dual, like Mega Man Legends, without the dual thing, that's a very tough game because you have the D-pad, but your shoulders for your camera angles and everything like that. I think the DualShock with the 2 joysticks was the best decision they made, and I think further on that was their big success. And that's just simple as it is, because at first when you first play it, you just couldn't imagine to it because you're so used
to it now.
Well, yeah, but back in the day, you were so used of the odd way, one up, one down from 2 different sides.
Yeah.
I mean, Dreamcast made us believe that we can move this joystick around somewhere after N64 decided to put it in the middle. So there was a lot of weird things, but the DualShock was something they never changed, and they kept going with it, and it got comfortable with people. I don't know if it's my favorite controller of all time, but it's definitely in the top 3 for me. And so I don't know about you. Would you put that as number 1 for you, your favorite controller of all time?
Yes.
Okay.
It's so much so that Xbox 2 copied the controller. I mean,
the Xbox? I don't think they copy more of the Dreamcast.
Off the Dream. That's right. I don't
because
know.
even the color buttons and everything looked very familiar, and I think the only thing they added
I think the way it felt in the hand.
Okay.
That's what I'm referring to.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Because of the back grips. If I had the shoulder rest, Dreamcast will be the ones that presented that, and that was the most brilliant idea for them. So if we'd done a Sega one, that's probably one of their biggest triumphs. But yeah, the DualShock controller to me was one of their biggest things. I'm going to go ahead and add one more to this. You mentioned a series. I think this one was one of their key things. Uncharted 2. I think Uncharted 2 was one of their mega busters that really pushed the PS3 further on. Uncharted 1 was good, but it felt like a test run.
Yes.
And Uncharted 2, I think,
was marketed all out.
Right. Game of the years all around the circle. It was the very first action game we ever played without really dealing with a loading screen
and without being rated M too, so you got a bigger reach.
And the fact I think that was a console seller for PS3 and moving on. Sadly enough, the Uncharted has ended that particular chapter in the series, but when everybody thinks a new PlayStation, Uncharted is definitely up there as a talk. Or are we going to get a new Uncharted into this family or not? And that was bigger than the Infamous games. That was bigger than, any other first parties at that time. People wanted Nathan Drake back into this mix. So Uncharted to me, too, was a big key item to the PS3 success going further in. Do you agree? Or?
I agree.
Okay. All right. So let's do our kind of our last ones. What you got over there?
Square Enix and Squaresoft.
Their combo? Okay.
That combo from the late 90s to carried up to the early 2000s. No, or to the early 2010s.
Okay.
Square Enix and Squaresoft, every time that they released a game, it turned heads. Because they always felt like they were at the cutting edge of technology. You had... I'll go back to 7. I've never seen a game look that beautiful. I've never seen a cutscene that perfectly rendered. The following 2 years, Final Fantasy VIII comes back. It's like, oh my god, how 2 years really? That's how far you've come. It was amazing too, from the polygram shops to 8.
So would you say Square Enix was a really good developers to really test the power of each console that came out?
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. Go on.
Even if you're not a fan of Final Fantasy, you might be a fan of Dragon Quest. It turned heads. Kingdom Hearts, when it came out, it's like, man, what are they doing over at Square? They're teaming up with Disney, and
it's almost like I said before, like PlayStation to Square Enix is to why I'd say Platinum to Nintendo. They just that combo where like they could just do crazy stuff together.
And even though it's not an exclusive anymore, Kingdom Hearts, when that trailer dropped 4 years ago for Kingdom Hearts 3, where Sora's running from that tornado of Heartless, it was oh my god, that is gonna look friggin' amazing.
Right, it's almost looking like a Pixar movie you're looking at and everything like that. Yeah,
but I definitely think that Squaresoft and Sony, that marriage drug them from the late 90s to the 2010s wonderfully well. And every Final Fantasy, even if it was a bad Final Fantasy, I don't care if you didn't like it, it turned your head. You took notice of, I cannot wait to see how much they've improved from 13 to 14. The 15 blew people's minds, blew my mind.
Yeah. I agree.
I also want to give a shout out to Santa Monica, the God of War devs as well.
That's on my list. I think God of War was a very key item to that series because it took it to the next level of quick time events and graphically.
Going back to my comment about the PS3 flopping, but those investments, you had these, even though it was poorly executed, you had these devs just so dedicated, so they mastered that core processor. You look at Uncharted 1, then you look at Uncharted 2, that man, you guys really learned how to handle. Then you look at Uncharted 3, so you've got this like the back of your hand. You look at Heavy Rain, like Quantic Dream just loved the PS3 core process. That processing, and you can definitely tell there was a lot of attention to detail. You had people know what they were doing.
Yes,
and
they have to, right? Because like if you're a second party, first party, you have to do that because like even with Nintendo, it's funny because third party will have a hard time with it, but then you see Nintendo knocking these Zelda games out and all these other games looking phenomenal,
and
right?
As much as I've been ragging on the PS3's launch, I think it's a very fine wine. The longer it was around, the longer that system, because it was around forever. It was almost wasn't it almost a 10-year console?
It is. It did say 10 years. Yeah, it's still going because the fact the store is still going. So it's more than 10 years now.
And it is really much like a fine wine, because when you had Rocksteady take Arkham to it, you finally had people, oh, this is what you can do on the core? Okay, we're good. You had the complete perfection in the last 4 years of that system's age.
Okay.
You had some of the most gorgeous looking games on the 3.
Okay. I got one more. You mentioned God of War. I was going to say I just mentioned God of War because God of War not only brought it graphically, but it was the very first hardcore game that we haven't played in a long time. There were some bloody games like that, but this is the one that really pushed it from like, the bloody cores, nudity. It was like all gloves off. This was a game they were just going full throttle over a revenge. Now, and I don't really care if people don't really like the path that Kratos did, the whole revenge. That's not where I was trying to aim at. I'm aiming at more of the gameplay and just the way they structured that game.
The tone of those games is very beautifully done, very visceral, very unapologetic.
Yeah.
And it sold. It absolutely sold. Kratos, being an M-rated game, became a face of Sony.
Exactly. And even with the new PS4 one that won all these Game of the Year awards and everything like that, shows that God of War still is a very important piece. To me, as of right now, sadly enough, I think God of War is a little bit above Uncharted. Just because
I agree.
Because now, only because 4 already come and gone, and now this is the newest entry. But if a new Uncharted comes in, Uncharted will probably get the upper bar again. And so those are your two really top tiers.
What's so funny about the face of Sony is it has, in my opinion, you can crucify me later in the comments, it has the most faces of variety. When you think Sony, someone might think, well, that's like Cooper. Well, that's Nathan Drake, that's Kratos. When you say Mario, that's when Nintendo your knee jerk is like Mario, and
Zelda and Pokemon. They're both very high rivals. The difference is more Nintendo's known for very whimsical kind of characters, and then Sony is more of the more gritty realisms characters and stuff like that. Granted, you had Ratchet and Clank and Jack and Dexter in that, but you can see it's funny too because you'll see these characters that are animated, their next characters are more serious. So you had Naughty Dog, you had your Crash, Jack and Dexter. Then you're getting your...
Even Grand Theft, too. Yeah. Some of the protagonists from Grand Theft.
Sly Cooper went to Infamous. Like, they were the platform, but then they went back to more to realisms after
that. Too, like the face of the company, James Marsden from Red Dead. I mean, that was... what 2010, 2012? That was some people's minds. Oh, yeah, that's when I think of Sony.
Same thing with BioShock. And so, this is my last one, and... Yeah, I'm going to hit PlayStation 3 one more time. Yes, PlayStation 3 is always going to be their downtime out of the consoles. It was the roughest console year for them lives, but I think one of the saving grace of all of this, and this was very important, Curtis, because without this, I think PlayStation 4 would have been having trouble, and that's what Game with Gold. Sony was hurting so bad, they needed something to do to keep people buying it because Xbox 360 was killing it.
Yeah,
it was.
Absolutely.
I jumped. I still got a PS3 later, but 360 was the first one because the online was awesome. The PlayStation Online was not that good. Their party chat was phenomenal on Xbox 360. The party chat on PS3 was garbage to me.
It was such a hard sell, too, because the price range, too, until the price drop. I waited 3 to 4 years before I got my PS3.
The installing the games was more struggle than the PS3. People were getting pissed at PS3 when they came to install, but Xbox install was faster and going.
Yeah.
So the saving grace was the Game of Gold, and that was where each month you got 2 free games.
Yes.
And that was their saving grace to me because, like, we have to give them something to come back for that. And from then, we've been seeing nothing but Game with Gold.
2 years ago, when I was a subscriber to the monthly game downloads, I'm not sure if this is still true, but I'd get 2 free games for PS3, 2 free games for the PS4. Oh, I still have a PSP. I might be able to get something free for that, and I have my Vita. I mean, that was a genius move on them.
Yeah, because remember, when the PS3 first came out, online was free for them.
Yes.
And then they had to do a subscription. And still Game with Gold was not in that subscription yet until later on.
Yeah.
And that's when it got started because you understand the 360 when you got your $60 and before they did their Xbox Gold. But, they just had a library of games that you can play, and their online was so awesome. So, to me, Curtis, I think PS4 would not even exist to me without that Game of Gold really helping them on the way. And
I agree.
So, that's it for my list. Do you have anything else on your list?
That was it.
Okay.
That was a very fun discussion.
Yeah. But what about our listeners? What do you guys think? What accessories, games, or culture or structure do you think that they did? Travis did an honorable mention. He said the design of the consoles, he believes, was a big success. Yes. Just the way they designed it was a good eye-peeling. What do you think is the best looking PlayStation console? I honestly, I think the PS2 is still my favorite. I think PS2 is it's so classic and nice. The original big one, the slim one was kind of meh. I have the one.
Looked nice though.
It did because it was paper thin, but just that design was just really cool. It looked like a kind of like a building on sideways.
Yes.
Granted, I never really played the game sideways. The console standing up, it looks cool, but sometimes I think the discs don't play very well.
You know what's really funny, bringing that up to the DVDs? Your PS2 was smaller than the DVD player.
Yes.
And that was just very eye-appealing, too.
Yes.
Like, this is why am I buying a DVD player? I'm gonna just go ahead and spend $200 on a game system.
Exactly. So, but what do you guys think? Be sure to email me at theingameoffice@gmail.com. I will post something up on our Facebook and Twitter to kind of raise some more discussions about it. Hopefully you guys can come in and chime in after the episode is posted out and everything like that. Don't forget we have other great shows that are coming in. Make sure you visit our Game Halls of Rivalry show. It's a great show. It's only 14 episodes, guys, and you can start anywhere you want and just go at it. Have fun. Dante and Bayonetta, Kifka and Sephiroth. We had Lara Croft and Nathan Drake.
Zelda and Peach.
Mario and Sonic, of course. Dr. Robotnik and Bowser.
Guys, we even had Chocobos and Yoshis.
And Totemoogles, right?
Totemoogles.
Yeah, right. There were just a lot of creative ideas in this. So please, give it a chance. Leave some comments. Tell us how we're doing. Remember, you can see these shows on Podbean, Spotify, YouTube, and Podbean. And we're looking at other places to do it. I'm looking at a Castbox. I'm looking at some other sources, maybe Stitcher. Just kind of get more ears to our shows and everything like that. But Curtis, once again, as a big recurring mini boss, thank you so much for coming back on the show to talk about PlayStation.
Thank you for having me.
And we will catch y'all on our next episode.